Hey guys, it's Summing Rush. So we're going to be taking a look at Faggot with a tuba, playing his Object 430U. So this was a really interesting carry on, what map is it? Arctic region. And it's interesting for a number of reasons, but the main reason I'm going to show this is because I want to show the capacity of the North, given that the meta on this map seems to have changed significantly recently. So you'll notice Faggot with the tubas in his Object 430U, top tier medium. There's tier 9s in this game, so it's a 5 tier 10 game, and then 10 tier 9s. The way this game plays out is going to be, like I said, it's fascinating, because what happens in this game is he decides not to go south. Now, most of the time, I always go south in my mediums, but recently I've been noticing a problem with that. When you commit to here in the south of your mediums, all your asshole heavies like snipe from back here, and so it's really common for you to get screwed over if you try to play aggressively in the south, because it just never works out. So Faggot with the tube is going to the north, and we don't have to watch this in slow-mo. What's going to happen is he's going to push through. Now, in this game, something, again, interesting happens that I'm not used to. Basically, only light tanks go north. So if you're going to try to learn, I wonder if this is the average lately with the new meta. I haven't gone to this position in years, but what you'll see is, like, there's only an RU here defending this. And normally what happens when you try to push through this side is you get stuck on this hill or whatever. If you're really aggressive, you get stuck onto this hill, and then like some asshole medium plays here and some asshole medium plays here. And all I do is sit there all game and create a crossfire that you can't push through. But obviously that hasn't happened in this situation. And so the north is wide open for the taking. Meanwhile, in the south, you'll see an Object 257 is dead. And, this seems to be a relatively typical, if you look at the south, like I'm looking at this side of the map right now, what's happening in the south seems to be very common nowadays. It's very common for the north side to win the south. And so what's happening here is, like, you've got this type 4 heavy sniping, multiple mediums and TDs who aren't affecting this fight, and then these 3 tanks here are going to die because it's basically a 1 2 3 4 5 versus 2. There's only 2 tanks here, and this guy's not being useful, and these 2 aren't really helping that side of the map. So what's happened in response to this is the Faggot with the tuba guys, he's going to be able to push through this north side. And this is really reminiscent of what I say when I say you want to play the side that you can push the fastest, because you're going to see how he manipulates that. So he's going to push through as quickly as he can. Artie clicks at the MX-30, of course, because that guy's the most aggressive. And this is the play that's going to win him the game. It's the play that allows him to basically turn this into an epic carry. So he pushes into the enemy base. Now, the mistake a lot of people make in this type of situation is they'll try to get on cap or something because, they're down tanks, the enemy's won the entire south of the map, and so on and so forth. But obviously that's not going to work, because what's going to happen is the entire enemy team is going to fall back, and they're going to post up right where this grill is. And if they're not a grill, if they're like a Jagdpanzer 100 or something, they're mostly going to be hull down, and, shooting at hull down Jagdpanzer 100s doesn't seem to work very well in general. So that's the context of this game. So recently, if you look, like, what's happening is he's obviously pushing into these tanks. He's not going to win against these tanks. So what he's going to do is going to be to look at the map and see what's going to happen. So right now, obviously, he's just shooting at these guys. But what I'm going to talk, like, the future of this game, if you're in this type of position, is going to be something akin to them capping out. So they've got 1 2 3 4 like 5 tanks or so pushing into your base. And Faggot with the tuba is going to notice that, because obviously the type 4 heavy, someone who snipes in the type 4 heavy, he's probably not going to be that resilient against like 5 tanks. More tanks are dying, and so on and so forth. And so what he's going to do is he's going to stop fighting hull down tanks and wasting all his heat shells, and he's going to look for an opportunity to potentially help his base, because obviously that's going to be under threat relatively quickly. So he takes a shot at this Malshin. These are just sniping shots with the Object 430U. He's going to miss a couple of them. I guess he just needs to get better at aiming, when vehicles are standing still or something. Learn to aim for weak spots new. No, but he's going to shoot at this Malshin. The Malshin's eventually going to die, and then he's going to be faced with this situation where he's got a WZ-5A and an E50M who are in his base. Now, the only reason, in my opinion, this game works out is because the enemy decides not to cap out. And that's really relevant, because normally what I've been learning, especially when I've been mentoring people, is like I always make these calls where I say go back to base, make sure they don't cap out. But it seems to be the case that lately most teammates or most enemies don't cap out, which gives you the opportunity to sometimes win, Majestic games like this, because they're not capping. He's able to win this one. And the fact that he's not rushing back to base to get resets that he doesn't need to get is going to be really important, because he's in this strong position. He's in the enemy's base. He's got teammates with him, and he's not rushing back to, to his death, because that's what it would be. Obviously, if they were capping, he'd have to rush back, but they're not, and so not rushing back is the right play, and it's going to work out perfectly for him. So there's this E50M in the open. He gets the kill. Currently, the score is 7-11, so the enemy has roughly like 4 tanks, more than they do, and he's in this situation where he kind of knows they're not capping, but he can, well, the fact that the WZ just got spotted confirms that they're not going to cap out unless the E50 or E75 or the Skoda gets on cap, but the fact that the WZ5A is in the open is a huge hint, and again, it's like the Skoda would have had time to get on cap, so there's no reason to rush back. Now, if you took a look at the minimap, you'll notice the IS-4 and the 704 are pushing into him, and he's obviously going to have to help this Foch beat. Now, the interesting thing is he's got a bit of a crossfire with this 1390 right here, but it's not an effective crossfire, because if there's tanks holding up here, the 1390 is not going to be able to expose himself to shoot at the 704 and whatnot. Now, the Skoda gets spotted behind him, so amazing situational awareness to Harleman. Or Faggot with a 2, but that's his Twitch name, so I'm calling him by that. And basically, you know, he's going to try to kill that guy, which is important. You obviously don't want to be flanked by a Skoda, but eventually the 1390 dies, and now the enemy are going to push into him. So this is how he deals with it. He's got a Skoda behind him, so what he needs to do is he needs to at least fight from this angle here so the Skoda can't shoot at him, and then he has to engage whichever flank he thinks he has the best chances at winning, because what you want to do in a situation like this, when you're in a crossfire, maybe the E75 is going to join the Skoda and start shooting you in the rear. You need to be isolating yourself from two groups. You don't want to have two groups of people shooting at you. So he drives forwards, and now he isn't in a crossfire. So, but the problem is he's fighting an IS-4, T-54, a Jagdpanzer 100, and a T-49 in front of him. Regardless, this is the right play. Now, the way this poke is taken, I don't really think it's that great, because if he got tracked right here, he'd be kind of screwed, right? Like if the IS-4 tracked him, or the IS-4 just shot. If the 49 tracked him or something, that would not be good. But he corrects that and you see the 49 tracks him. But he corrects that and goes to the other side next time. And that's exactly how I think he should be doing it. The cool thing is he's using the IS-4 for cover. So he's side scraping against the IS-4. But the T-49 is not going to poke on him, because it's like to poke on the Faggot with the tuba, the 49 has to come wide, and that would give the Foch B shots. So he's not going to do that, and that's why this play works. It's like the Jagdpanzer 100 isn't helping. The Jagdpanzer 100, I would guess, is probably flanking, because he hasn't done anything for, like, you know, like, where's the Jagdpanzer 100? Well, he's not helping anyone, so probably he's flanking, and lo and behold, he is. And you know, that's the situation. So right now he's got this T-49 who's disengaged, right? The T-49 isn't fighting anyone. He goes for a shot on the Skoda because he's a one-shot. He makes the right play here in committing to the T-49. This is an extension of what I said with what he did with the IS-4 and avoiding the Skoda. He goes for the kills so he can fight everyone on one side of him. He doesn't want to be in a crossfire with the T-49 and the group of tanks right here. So he does that, and that's absolutely the right thing. You should do that too if you're ever in a situation like that. You need to clear out sides, and that's exactly what he did right here. Now he's in this situation where there's a Jagdpanzer 100, there used to be a Skoda, a T-54, and an E-75 who are left. So there's 3 tanks left, but the thing is, he's a one-shot for the Jagdpanzer 100, the Foch B is a one-shot for everything on the enemy team, and right here... that fucking Yag, man. He got so lucky. I think this tank's alpha is 440. Yeah, 440, and like the 300 HP Jagdpanzer lived. You're going to notice he takes a bit of a silly shot, in my opinion. I think he should have gone for the Commander's Hatch, but I'm not one to criticize people for aiming on weak spots. It is what it is. It showed green. That could be a replay glitch, so I don't really know. And now he's in the situation where if he pushes into a Jagdpanzer 100 and a T-54, it won't work out. So this is always the most challenging part of a carry, when you're down tanks and everyone's a one-shot. Because when the enemies are one-shots, they're going to be obnoxiously passive. And then when you're one-shots, like, what are you going to do? Drive into people who can one-shot you? That doesn't work. So what happens is he's going to... I think this is a bit of indecision, but in the end he decides not to push on the Jagdpanzer 100. You'll notice the Jagdpanzer 100 has gone dark again. So my inclination would be to think that the Jagdpanzer 100 is flanking, and it looks like Faggot with the Tuva is thinking the exact same thing. So he's going to drive like this. When I originally watched the replay, I thought he was going to go make a flank or something, but... His indecision is really interesting, because I would think the correct decision is to assume that the Jagdpanzer U100 is flanking, and then the real question is, where the hell is that E75? The E75 hasn't been lit for a while, so the question is, where could the E75 be? Because he hasn't been lit for like an extensive period of time, and you would think if he had moved anywhere, he probably would have been lit. Like if he had crossed like this, he would have been spotted, and if he had been making a play to like fall back to base and go here, he would have done that by now, you would think. And if he was trying to get on cap, you would also think that he would have already done that. So where the E75 is, I have no clue. I think Faggot with the tuba is right to kind of... The thing is, if I had thought the E75 was a threat, I would think the most likely position for him to be in would be F9 right now, because you would have spotted him. If he was doing this, he would. If he's going around like this, it doesn't matter, because then he would shoot at the Foshby. Like, he wouldn't be a threat if he was going around the north, and if he was capping, that would be useless. And then also, if he was at F9, I think he would have done it. So what Faggot with the tuba is going to do is he's going to play almost as if the E75 is DC'd, and I think for the most part that's going to be the right play. Now he decides to come up here, and this is certainly the right play, because what he's doing is he's making sure the Jagdpanzer, who isn't on the map because of replay glitches, but he's making sure the Jagdpanzer U100 isn't flanking. And so you'll notice he pokes all the way down like this, and he doesn't see the Jagdpanzer U100. So the question is, where the hell is the Jagdpanzer U100? Well, the way I see it is he could be here and just been lucky with the proxy spotting timings, or he's probably back here. And to me, that's probably what Harleman's going to assume. And then the thing is, he gets lit. So this is like, what the hell? You just got outspotted by presumably an E75. It's unlikely that the Jagdpanzer would have spotted you without you seeing him. And so the assumption that Harleman or Faggot with the tuba is going to make is that the E75 is where he kind of was last spotted. And I think that's the correct play, because based on who spotted him, there's only a certain number of bushes that... like, when he was up here, there's only a certain number of bushes that can actually spot your camping TD location reasonably decently. And he's going to assume that the E75 hasn't moved from his previous position, and that is like impressive. So what Faggot with the tuba is going to do is he's going to cross. Now the problem with this cross is, you knew, like, it's fair because there's 3 minutes left, right? So he has to make a play. The thing is, where's the Jagdpanzer 100? Well, he's probably in this area, and given that he's shown a proclivency, how do you say it? Proclivant? I don't know how to say the word. I know the word I'm looking for, but he's likely to flank again, is what I'm trying to say. He's looking for, he's already shown that he loves to flank people in his Jagdpanzer 100, so it kind of makes sense to assume that he's going to be up here. And it sounds a bit like witchcraft what I'm saying, but you can notice habits in players, and if someone likes to flank in their mouse, they will continue to try to flank in their mouse. So that's exactly what the Jagdpanzer 100 is going to try to do. He's just really slow about it, like impressively slow about it. He could have done it like 3 minutes ago. The Foch, luckily, who's following Faggot with the tuba, gets safe, doesn't die, and then Faggot with the tuba manages to cross, no problem, again, without like getting snapshotted by a Jagdpanzer 100. So what Faggot with the tuba is doing, I think, like, obviously this is a replay perspective. But what I think he's doing is he's hunting at the E75. He's wondering who spotted him when he was in D7, or at least that's what I would, if I was in his position, that's what I'd be trying to figure out. Where the hell is the E75 who spotted you? And you'll notice the fact that he's got all this hit points is going to be Majestic, because he can use them as a tool. He doesn't have to fear the E75, basically. It's really useful to have hit points when you're trying to carry. So what does he do? He finds the E75, and I don't understand this timing, because the way I see it is this E75 probably recently flipped, because when you're flipped, your view range is cut in half. And so probably what's happened is the E75 used to be here when he spotted him, when he spotted Faggot with a tuba, when Faggot in a tuba was in the TD position. And then between that period in time, he flipped. So what that means is the E75 has been playing in this location for basically the entire game. And that's exactly why he spotted him and then he flipped, because obviously if he's flipped right here, he would not spot the object 430U, because his view range gets cut in like half. So that's what happened. Don't ask me why the E75 was here, but that's the way it was, and it's something I certainly wouldn't have predicted. Like the fact I would have, when I first saw this replay, I thought the E75 had been flipped for like 10 minutes. Watching it again, I realized that the E75 probably just flipped because he's probably the guy who spotted Faggot with a tuba when Faggot in a tuba was where the Jagdpanzer 100 is. Okay, so the thing is, there's a minute left. He's got 6 kills, 8,200 damage, because he farmed like 1,000 off the flipped E75. In a situation like this, you kind of, like, the thing is, the time is ticking down, right? So there's 30 seconds left, and you can't cap out anymore. So how do you approach a Jagdpanzer 100 when you're a one-shot, and then you've got a teammate who's a one-shot, and he's in the overpowered TD camping position? Well, the correct way to do it, in my experience, is to let the one with the weakest gun take the hit. So in my experience, that should be Faggot with a tuba. But the thing is, it's like there's so little time left that coordinating for teamwork when there's 8 seconds left isn't going to happen. So what he does is exactly what I think is the right play. He pokes up. He's trying to get the Jagdpanzer 100 to like bait his shot into, you know, the upper front plate or something. And you'll notice this is where the Jagdpanzer 100 pens. It's very slim. He almost just tracked Faggot with a tuba and did no damage. But Faggot with a tuba luckily has a repair kit. He's going to repair, and that's going to allow him to drive forwards. And this time he doesn't get unlucky when shooting at the Jagdpanzer 100. He gets the 7th kill, and that's how he won the game. So, you know, certainly an interesting way of playing on this map. It's not common. Like, I almost never go north, so this is probably the first time I've ever featured a north play on Arctic Region on my entire channel. So, you know, yeah, let's go take a look at the end plates and we'll call it there. I mean, as far as I was concerned, this was an amazing game. It really shows how to exploit the north. And then also the fact that he didn't go back to reset is really useful to realize, because it's like, it's very common if the game is looks close or if the enemy team is up, it's very common for them not to cap out. So, you know, taking advantage of that is absolutely what's necessary. Already, so obviously that was a mastery badge, 2106 XP with premium, so 1404 without one. Generally, that's going to be what gets you a mastery badge, is like 1300 base XP, more or less. He ended up getting a high caliber top gun, a bunch of medals I don't really care about, 8300 damage, 7 kills. In the end, he fired 36 shots, 32 of them hit, 23 of them penned. That's really good. Like, the fact that he's shooting a ton is really important. It's like, bouncing is not a bad thing if you're shooting a lot, because you're more likely to hit stuff or pen stuff, in my opinion. If you're shooting, it's kind of like, anyways, I could use a cliche, but it's like the more shots you take, the more shots you're likely to pen. He ended up blocking 4000 damage with his armor because 430U is balanced, and you know, that was a relatively successful game. He ended up losing credits, but who cares? In carries like this, you're always going to lose credits, so especially when you run out of ammo. So yeah, I hope this video is interesting to watch. If you want to see more like it, let me know. I'm gonna go live stream because it's 10:38 a.m. and I live stream in 22 minutes. So I'm gonna go edit this, live stream, and then yeah, if you want to catch me live, I'll be on twitch.tv/lemmingrush. So see you in a bit.